There are moments when we stand still, not because we are tired, but because something has quietly taken our breath away. A sunset stretches across the sky in colors we cannot name. A melody lingers in our minds long after the final note. A painting stares back at us, and though it says nothing, we feel as though we've been spoken to. In these moments, we encounter beauty. But what is beauty? Why does it move us so deeply, so mysteriously? For the philosopher Immanuel Kant, these experiences are more than emotional reactions. They are clues to something profoundly human, something that speaks to the very structure of our minds and the freedom of our spirits. Kant's aesthetics, as unfolded in his masterful work Critique of the Power of Judgment, 1790, is not just about art or pleasure. It is about how we judge, how we feel, and how we find meaning in a world that is often cold and silent. This essay is a journey into Kant's world of aesthetic thought, a world where beauty is not in the eye of the beholder, but in the deep harmony of our minds, where the sublime lifts us beyond ourselves, and where art whispers the language of freedom. Kant's philosophical universe is built like a cathedral, vast, ordered, and constructed on deep foundations. In his earlier works, The Critique of Pure Reason and The Critique of Practical Reason, he had already mapped out the limits of what we can know and what we ought to do. But something was missing: the space between knowledge and morality, between reason and desire. That space is feeling, and that is where aesthetics enters. In The Critique of Judgment, Kant sets out to explain how we judge beauty and why it matters. He calls this reflective judgment, a special kind of mental activity where we look at something in the world, a flower, a statue, a face, and experience a kind of joyful harmony. We don't try to measure it or analyze it. We simply feel that it is beautiful. And yet, this feeling isn't mere emotion. It has structure, even a kind of silent logic. We find ourselves saying, "This is beautiful," as though we expect others to agree. Why? Because for Kant, the aesthetic judgment, though born in subjectivity, carries an unspoken claim to universality. Think of the last time you found something truly beautiful. Perhaps it was a scene in nature or a haunting piece of music. Did you want to own it? Use it? Probably not. You were simply content to behold it. That is what Kant calls disinterested pleasure. Pleasure that asks for nothing in return. This idea is at the heart of Kant's aesthetic philosophy. True beauty, he says, gives us a kind of joy that is free from desire. When we enjoy a delicious cake, that's a pleasure of the senses, tied to appetite. But when we marvel at a delicate flower or a shimmering sculpture, we feel something purer. We do not wish to consume the object, only to witness it. This disinterestedness makes the judgment of beauty uniquely human. It shows that we are not only creatures of need and survival, but beings capable of appreciating form, balance, and meaning for their own sake. And that, for Kant, is a glimpse into our freedom. But how do we explain this mysterious pleasure? Why does a beautiful object make us feel alive in such a specific way? Kant's answer is striking. Beauty is the result of a free play between two of our deepest faculties, imagination and understanding. When we recognize something in the world, say a chair, we use understanding to apply a concept. We say, "This is a chair." Our minds sort and label. But in aesthetic experience, something different happens. We look at a flower, a piece of music, or a painting, and there is no concept to apply. Our imagination is set loose, dancing with our understanding in a rhythm that has no name. This is what Kant calls the free play of the faculties. It is like watching a dancer and a pianist improvise in perfect harmony, not following a script, but moving as one. The result is pleasure, not of the senses, but of the mind's freedom. And because every human shares these faculties, Kant believes that the experience of beauty carries an implicit universality. We expect others to agree, not out of arrogance, but because we all share the same silent architecture of judgment. Kant does not stop at beauty. He also explores another powerful aesthetic experience, the sublime. While beauty calms and delights, the sublime shocks and overwhelms. It is what we feel when we gaze at the Milky Way or stand at the edge of a thunderous waterfall. It is not gentle, but awe-inspiring. The sublime, Kant says, begins with a feeling of failure. Our imagination tries to grasp something immense or formless, like infinity or the power of nature, and falls short. But then, something remarkable happens. Reason steps in. We realize that, though nature may overpower us physically, we are more than bodies, we are rational beings capable of conceiving the infinite. Thus, the sublime is not just terror or wonder. It is the triumph of our rational spirit. It lifts us beyond the empirical toward ideas like freedom, morality, and the infinite. It reminds us that we are not just part of nature, we are, in a very real way, above it. Kant's aesthetics is not only about how we perceive beauty, but also about how beauty is created. This leads him to his famous concept of genius. For Kant, a true artist is not just skilled but inspired. Genius is the ability to produce that which no rule can teach. Genius, Kant says, creates aesthetic ideas, expressions that point beyond themselves, suggesting truths too deep for words. A great poem, a painting, a symphony. They all carry layers of meaning that resist easy explanation. They are inexhaustible. Such art does not instruct or argue, suggests, it invites. And in doing so, it stirs the same free play in us that inspired its creation. Great art, therefore, does not just reflect beauty. It creates the conditions for others to experience it. It is the voice of human freedom speaking through form. Kant's aesthetics, while grounded in feeling, ultimately connects with his deepest philosophical concerns: freedom and morality. For Kant, the experience of beauty is not a luxury. It is a hint, a symbol of a deeper harmony between nature and reason. When we judge something to be beautiful, we act freely. We use our faculties in a way that is neither determined by nature nor by duty. In this freedom, Kant sees a symbol of moral autonomy. Beauty, then, becomes a bridge not just between the senses and the mind, but between the world of fact and the world of value. This symbolic power of beauty also points to a hope that nature and freedom, so often at odds, might ultimately belong together. That the world we experience and the moral ideals we strive for are not foreign to one another, but secretly attuned. Kant's aesthetic philosophy has echoed through centuries of thought. The Romantics embraced his idea of the sublime. Modernists drew inspiration from his notion of the genius. And today, philosophers and artists still wrestle with his vision of beauty as disinterested, universal, and deeply human. Yet his ideas have also faced criticism. Feminist and post-colonial thinkers have questioned whether Kant's standards of taste are as universal as he claimed. Others have sought more historical or cultural approaches to aesthetics. Still, even these critiques are made in dialogue with Kant, not outside his shadow. Why? Because Kant asked questions that do not fade. What is beauty? Why does it matter? What does it reveal about us? In a world of algorithms and machines, these questions are more urgent than ever. And Kant's answer, that beauty is the echo of our freedom, remains as luminous as ever. Immanuel Kant did not write poetry, but he understood its power. He saw in the experience of beauty something profoundly liberating, a moment when our minds move freely, our spirits awaken, and our hearts are quietly affirmed. To judge something beautiful is not merely to like it. It is to feel a resonance between ourselves and the world, a momentary harmony that suggests we are not strangers here. It is to act freely, joyfully, and meaningfully, even if only for a moment. In this light, Kant's aesthetics is not an ivory tower speculation. It is a philosophy. Thank you for accompanying. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel and leave a comment below so we can discuss. Wish you and your family good health.